Hey everybody, Kevin Weiss from bodyperformance.net, brought to you by Ripped Home Fitness Products. And today we're going to talk about joint action and how it relates to muscle action. And by that I mean if you're trying to work a muscle, you have to look at where the muscles attach and how they move the joint. So that may sound complicated, but it's not. So the easy one that we're going to use today to demonstrate that is going to be the bicep and the tricep. And the reason why we're using that in combination is because they're both affected by the elbow joint. The muscle, when you're trying to work your biceps doing curls, various different types of curls, the elbow joint is the joint that should be moving and no other joint should really be affected. The same goes for the tricep on the opposite end. Obviously the bicep, the joint is going this way, and the tricep, the joint is straightening. So when we look at, let's start with the bicep, where once again, on another video I talked about the lats and how you're trying to bring the origin and the insertion closer together, and that's how you get a proper contraction and also a proper stretch in a muscle, is by taking that origin insertion further apart to stretch, closer together to contract. Pretty simple concept. So it's actually a pretty easy way to show it with the bicep because it's very simple. If you straighten your arm out and the origin of the bicep is just up in kind of by the shoulder here, and then the insertion is down here by the elbow. So to bring those closer together, very simple to understand. Tricep basically being the exact opposite. The tricep has 3 heads, the bicep has 2 heads. And same thing, it attaches up here, kind of up where the lat almost attaches, and then down at the elbow. So when that is being brought closer together, it's actually when it's straightened. So the elbow, because they're opposing muscle groups, the bicep shortens when it contracts this way, tricep is lengthened. Tricep lengthens or shortens, bicep lengthens. So not too hard to understand. But where people get kind of messed up is they think you need various and multiple different exercises for these different muscles. For different, they're doing 3, 4, 5 different tricep exercises or bicep exercises. Now that isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, I'm all for variety, but some people don't have the option of doing that. Maybe they have a set of dumbbells, maybe they have a set of bands, maybe they only have 1 dumbbell or something like that, where they're very restricted in what they can do. And that's totally fine. You can still work your biceps and triceps or any muscle very well if you understand those concepts of where it attaches, where it inserts, and then what joint is being affected. So using the biceps real quick, if you want to work your biceps effectively, you take the joint and you go, this is where the bicep actually contracts. So if your grip is narrower, this is not going to be, it just doesn't feel natural that this is where you're going to get the best contraction. Some people don't mind that, but because the elbow is not lined up, you can see there's a bit of it's a bit inward here. You're putting extra stress on that joint. So a real simple way to do it is put your arms down, and if you're going to do a curl with your hands up, just pay attention, relax to how wide they're going to need to be. And then just simply flex the joint and see where the hands come up to. Now that's going to give you a real good idea. If you were to be in here doing your curls, you're going to be, yes, you're still going to affect the bicep, but you're putting unnecessary stress on the joint and you're not going to be able to work the bicep as effectively as you want. So if you stand nice and tall and just put your arms down like that, and you can turn your grip, even if you were to use a reverse grip, which I don't typically use a lot, but some people like to do it, your hands will find their own position, and then all that happens is the elbow flexes. So when we go to the side here and the elbow flexes, you see the only joint that's moving is the elbow, which means the bicep is getting the most contraction. Now, if I was to pull, now another joint is being affected. I'm pulling with my wrist. So I'm not necessarily taking stress off of my bicep, but I'm not adding more. I'm just adding more stress to my forearm, which is a smaller muscle group. If the elbow comes out, well, now it's the shoulder that's being affected. So quite often when people are doing curls, that's what they're doing, is they're not just working their bicep using the one joint of the elbow and bringing the insertion closer to the origin. They'll start doing something like this. And now we have 3 joints working. And unfortunately, once you've involved the shoulder and the wrist, you're not getting as much on the bicep, because the elbow, the first joint that moves is where you're going to get the most stimulation. So the elbow joint affecting the bicep. If your first joint is your wrist, well, now your forearm is going to be engaged before the bicep. So I don't want to get too crazy in depth with this. It's a very simple concept. You don't want a lot of moving parts if you're trying to work a single muscle. We're not talking about compound exercises right now. It's a bit of a different thing. It still has similar principles. But if you're working your bicep, you only want one joint to move, and that's the joint that affects the muscle, and that's the elbow. If we go to the tricep, it's just the exact opposite. Same idea. If you take your hands and say you're going to go with a hands down for a tricep press down, go from this way to begin with, I wouldn't be going down like this either, because once again, the elbow is not lining up. You're putting a lot of stress. If you don't use any weight and you just let it go down, you'll naturally see that it goes slightly in and slightly out. The exact opposite of what the bicep does. Same thing. Bicep curl should only affect the elbow. Tricep press down or any tricep exercise should only affect the elbow. So when I see people doing tricep press downs where they're over top like this and they're basically getting every joint in their muscle involved, yes, you can use more weight, but you're not putting more stress on the muscle that's intended. So if you're trying to work a bicep, or you're trying to work a pec, or you're trying to work a lat, you need to know how that muscle actually works and what joints are affected. If you know those 2 things, you can work any muscle with one exercise and work it very effectively. So I hope this little tip helps you out to make your workouts better. I'm Kevin Weiss from bodyperformance.net, brought to you by Riptone Fitness Products. I'll talk to you again real soon.